provided for us, and a beautiful town, and the financial provisions that we have to care for it, and the people that we have, both our citizens and those who work for us. And we pray that you keep them safe and healthy. God, your word says that it is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm then, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by a yoke of slavery. And we thank you on this Juneteenth for the emancipation of the slaves in this country. And may we continue to celebrate that, and treat one another equally and love one another in a manner that would be pleasing to you. Father, we ask that you will bless this town in a continued fashion, and pray that all the things that we say and the things that we do will be pleasing to you. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First public comment period. We ask that if you do want to speak, we ask that you grab a form off of the back table and fill it out for our clerk. You have 3 minutes to speak. And please state your name and address. And our first speaker will be Patricia Long.
I want to first thank the council for making this possible. You do a lot taken for a given, but means a great deal to keeping this community. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I wish to speak to alcohol ordinance. I'd like to know how this first came about to be introduced. Was it because of a request made by citizens of Tyrone? Was it peer pressure? Other small towns are doing it, so we should too. Or did alcohol companies or food trucks who would like to do this request that this be done? There would be other reasons too, so I just wanted to know how this came about. Secondly, in this alcohol ordinance, you have alcohol at parks. It just opens up, gives the potential of opening up a host of problems. Doors will be open that will be impossible or very impossible to close. I really can't see having a designated area in which to serve alcohol, or cups that are designated or stickers that are designated will solve the problem. When you have people who look to alcohol for an enhanced experience, it makes it very difficult if they are in situations where alcohol is available. And I really just can't see saying we have fun, family-friendly activities at our parks. And by the way, alcohol is served also. This was in the Fayetteville paper yesterday, which isn't exactly what I'm talking about, but it was a soiree in Noonan at a country club, but nevertheless, I'm applying it to the park issues. Endless summer soiree featuring beer, bourbon, and wine. And I just can't see having that in Tyrone. It certainly wouldn't be to this extent, I don't think, but why have it at all when so many people have wonderful experiences here? Don't necessitate having alcohol to make them the fun activities down that we have like Tyrone. And I truly do thank you for making it possible for citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mayor Dial, if I may. Ms. Long? Ms. Long? No, that's quite all right. If you have a few moments, I don't believe this is going to be an extremely long meeting. I'd love to talk to you about that.
Oh, yes, I'd be
Okay.
happy to.
Thank you.
I planned on staying.
Good.
I don't think it's polite.
You're a glutton for punishment. All right. Anyone else that would like to speak? Okay. I understand we have a desire to make a change to the consent agenda. Can that be spoken to?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to request that item number 4 be removed from the consent agenda and added to new business, please.
Okay. So that will push it down to six, seven, number 7. So Roman numeral 10, let's call it 7. Yes, sir.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the agenda with that change?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We'll come down to Roman numeral 8, item number 5, which is a public hearing for the consideration of an alcohol license application from Alejandro Arellano for Arellano Brothers, Inc. Will you be presenting this, or? Okay.
Good evening. This public hearing is for the consideration of an alcohol license for Alejandro Arellano for his business located at 1496 Highway 74, which is the former Partners next to Publix in the Publix Shopping Center. The license is for retail alcohol consumption for beer, wine, and distilled spirits. The application was reviewed by our legal counsel. Signage and legal ads were placed. They were also currently working on their DBA for Grand Mayan Fresh Mex Cantina, correct? If approved, Mr. Arellano will then apply for his state license, and he and his brother are both here tonight.
Okay. Welcome. All right, we will begin the public hearing, and the way the public hearing works is similar to public speaking. You have 3 minutes to speak, and then as the petitioners, if someone speaks in opposition to it, we would give you the opportunity to respond to that if you find it necessary. So we'll open the public hearing and ask if there is anyone who would like to speak in support of this application. Hearing none. Is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition to this application? Hearing none. All right, the public hearing is closed. Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we consider the alcohol, we approve the alcohol license application for Alejandro Arellano for Arellano Brothers located at 1496 Highway 74 for retail consumption of beer, wine, and distilled spirits.
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We hope your restaurant does well.
Thank you.
Just to clarify, that's the old Partners Pizza building?
Yes. Okay. Brandon or Sandy, who's going to take the lead first here?
I'll start it off or carry it through however it works. This is the public hearing for our annual budget. This is for the FY26 budget. Just a quick overview. The proposed general fund budget totals $13,041,266.74, reflecting an 8.7% increase over the current budget. To balance the budget, we proposed the use of $3,900,395.64 in surplus funds, which represents approximately 46% of our unassigned fund balance as reported in the February 2025 audit. Some highlights from the budget is a 3% pay increase for town employees, addition of a new full-time code enforcement officer, and $1.8 million allocated to the Pendleton Dam project attached to that grant that y'all are familiar with. Our revenue projections are tax revenue is overall is projected to increase by 4.9% over the current year. Property tax revenue is expected to reach $2,006,523.61, which is a 10% increase. That also takes into account House Bill 581 and its impact on our property tax revenue. Property taxes will comprise 15.4% of the total budget, which remains well below the 30% national average for municipalities. Also note that this property tax, I'm sorry, I've already covered that. It includes HB 581. I got ahead of myself. The revenue budget includes the $1.8 million GEMA grant for the aforementioned Pendleton Dam. And then the other funds were, your SPLOS funds, your sewer fund, your Founder's Day, all those funds that totaled just over $8 million. I sent you guys an email, a memo on Friday that had these highlights in it. That's all I have for now. It's just, if you have any questions.
Have any questions regarding the budget before we move to the public hearing? Okay. Much like the previous public hearing, if you would like to speak for or against, you'll have 3 minutes to do so. We ask that you state your name and address. Is there anyone here that would like to speak in support of this budget? Hearing none, is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition to the budget? Public hearing is closed. This is not a vote tonight. This is simply for this particular public hearing. So you're not going to get a vote from us now. We will meet on this again a week from tonight.
6 p.m.
At 6. And that's the vote. 6 o'clock is the vote. So if you want to come back then, you can do so. Okay, we now move to our next item from earlier, which is the approval of Mellon Medium's Bouncin' Bubbles event at Shamrock Park, July 12th, 2025, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., which is open to the public. And I'm going to turn to Ms. Whalen for discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I asked this be removed because it seemed unusual compared to my limited experience on council with events being at our park. The main reason I was not familiar with Melanin Median, so I did a quick look up to see who they were and found that they aren't actually a active LLC in the state of Georgia. And
Inactive.
they're
Is that
inactive, yes. And so from there, I just did a little more looking around just to see what was going on, and I did find that they had advertised on Facebook, and then they also had a link to Eventbrite where they were going to solicit people to purchase food truck spaces. And I thought that was very unusual. I'd never seen anything like that. And so I wanted our town council attorney to weigh in on that as far as, is that something we do? Do we allow people to use our park and basically sublease our spaces and ask staff for feedback? Am I just not familiar with this type of event?
I'll address really both issues that you brought up. The first being the inactive issue. Typically, when you have a corporate entity, whether it be LLC or Inc. or PC, show as an inactive status, it typically means they haven't paid their registration for the current year, which is generally $40 or something like that. But you have to pay that registration every year. If you don't pay it on time, you go to inactive status, and you have to go back and pay and go forward. But that's a red flag sometimes for entities like that aren't active by paying the registration, presuming that's why they're inactive. Secondly, I'm not familiar with this town ever having put on an event where it sounds like we're subsidizing someone else. No one has been charging consideration, whether it be for food trucks or for whatever they're doing. It's always been something that the town welcomes, say, a church or whatever other entity that comes in and does something for the town, free of charge to the town, they're not profiting from either. To hear that somebody is soliciting revenue for space for food trucks would be something that I don't think has ever been done before. I'm not saying that's what they're doing, but in answer to your question, if that is what's going on, that would be something we've never even been asked to allow to happen before. So I could stand corrected, but that's just to my knowledge from the different approvals that this town has allowed over the years. It's always been things that were free of charge, both to the town and to the public and anybody else participating in the event.
Is there any light you can shed on this? Sheriff?
I've never done that. Add also that the amount that they're charging is that is way more than have for our very own.
So did they just not tell you that they were going to do this when they signed up to use the park?
Knowledge, I have, Linda did.
Okay.
However, this person advertising for this event, her own business that is an improper process, and
Randy, did you have something to add? Oh, I'm sorry. I think we had about 3 people that thought I was calling them. Maybe that's why they're charging so much for the. Okay. I didn't interrupt you, did I?
Oh, no, sir.
Okay.
that the company itself is defined. I'm curious as to where their profits are going.
Well, I think you can be, I wouldn't say they're defunct. I would say they just didn't, they didn't,
I apologize.
they didn't pay their annual
Okay,
registration fee with the Secretary of State.
I
So,
apologize.
yeah, there's,
That was a term
Yeah.
provided.
no, I get what you're saying. Ms. Whalen, do you have anything else you want to say or?
No, I'd just like
direction?
to make a motion that we decline this, and then I'd like to make a further motion to direct staff to come up with some type of policy to kind of narrow this down as to who can have events, and so this doesn't catch us off guard again. And also with the, looking forward to the pavilion being in a play as a piece of rental. I would love to have policy well in place with fees and insurance, public safety features. Anything else that you guys would want to add to that motion to direct staff to make that policy? It's getting a little muddy, isn't it, Dennis?
Can we start with a motion to decline? Can we just?
Yes.
That-
Okay,
that would be
yes, I
good.
make a motion that we decline the Bouncing Bubbles event in the park.
Second.
All right, and are we going to discuss this? Can we discuss this a little bit more after we've passed this motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Now, did you want to discuss it? Well, I just have a comment now that you've,
Well,
Go.
I just
Go ahead.
wanted to make sure that there was a directive to staff to make a policy to put guidelines in place so someone's not subleasing our spaces for profit.
I do agree with Ms. Whalen on that, but I have a question that I have. When these, and this is not the first time that this has happened, how do we, who's making the decision that these are going on the consent agendas? Is it something that they come to you and you just call in and say, and I'm just want to know how the process works. Do you call up and give it to Dee or Brandon and they just put it on there? There's no check as to what they're actually doing or what they're representing or what message they're trying to bring to our, to our fine little town here. I mean, these people are from Atlanta, and now all of a sudden they're showing up in Tyrone. It just, something like that just kind of rubs me. And I know we have to be careful here how we do this. But I agree with Jessica that I think that going forward, we have to make, strict rules as to who can get it. Who's determining that we're not charging them to use our park? We charge people to use the pavilion, but here they're taking over our park, even though it's open to the public, and there's no fee being charged to them. That's a rhetorical question. I'm not looking for an answer. That just doesn't resonate with me. I have a hard time with that. So I think going forward, and Brandon and I spoke briefly about this earlier today too, I do think going forward, like Ms. Whalen said, we need to set policy, especially with the stage or the pavilion that's going on up there. In some ways, I can almost say I don't want anybody else to use it except for the town, but I mean, that's up to everybody to decide that because of the liabilities that are going to be involved in it. So, I mean, that's something that we can all decide on.
I can speak a little bit. Go ahead, sir.
I just wanted to say, I think it's, we have to be very careful because it's just a bit of a slippery slope, in my opinion. For example, we enter in relationships with sporting activities at like Hanley Park. They charge fees for the use of that, like for baseball. So there's not a difference in that. So we have to be very careful that we don't restrict this activity and it bites us on that side as well. So I completely agree with Jessica from the perspective that this type of event in this particular place, it can be a problem if you're trying to charge in that way. But I just want our policy to be very clear, and to the point so that we don't bite ourselves in them.
Brandon, correct me if we're wrong, though. To Dia's point, the people that are charging a fee down at Hanley Park, they have a contract with us,
Right.
and that's part of their contract to be able to do that. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's part of the TYBA field use agreements. There are some nuances there.
Right.
Speaking to the process, one of the reasons they're on the consent agenda, because you expressed the concern about who's making the decision, who pays or whatnot. We put these on the consent agenda when someone requests to use the park so that you guys can make that decision. So that's why they're on the agenda. And typically the way that works is, yes, each department head submits their items to the Municode system. And so by the time it hits the Municode system, the department head, has put everything together. So in this case, they reached out to Linda and they said, just like, people in the past have done, we'd like to do an event at Shamrock Park. What is that process? And then once it comes out that they want the fee waived, then that triggers Linda to say, okay, well, that's got to go to council. So that's why it's on the agenda. It's no different than, you had an item on the agenda tonight for a church to use the park. They wanted to waive the fees because they're doing a public event. And so that's how it landed here, and that's just historically how we've done it. The policy that you guys are wanting us to do, the way I plan to write it's going to be very similar to what we did with the pickleball courts, where most of this will be handled at the staff level. It'll answer all of staff's questions about what your desire is for use of the park. And it will eliminate some of this, because if you guys approve a policy that says to do an event like this, you have to meet these criteria, and at the staff level, we'll know they've met that criteria or not, and then, we can handle it there. But my goal for the policy will be to, be as clear and robust as possible. We'll, of course, run it through legal before it gets to you guys. But yeah, that just answers a little bit to the process and who makes that decision. And hope that cleared that up a little bit.
I want to make sure that we're not a little too heavy-handed on this particular event. Not paying your registration on time or whatever, it's not uncommon. It's not a big deal. You just a few clicks of the mouse and you've paid it. I think we should tell them you need to pay it. Well, then that puts us, all we have to deal with is they should have communicated with us about charging people, and that should have been communicated to them. You're not allowed to do that. If they want to pay their fee to Secretary of State and then not charge for these vendors, then they're welcome to use our park. In my mind, it's park. So I want to make sure we're not just throwing up the stop sign and saying we don't want y'all here. Hopefully that's not what we're saying.
Thank you, Christy.
I want to also make a note because we've talked about a business being inactive. Inactive is the first step, but if you still don't pay, then you're administratively dissolved, which is a completely different process, because then you have to go back through the entire process in order to get, licensed with the state. And they are. And the last time that they paid was 2023, if I read that document right. So it's last year and this year. So hopefully.
Once you get past that first year, it does go to administrative dissolution, and it just more paperwork, but you can still catch up, but you still have to fill out the more paperwork.
That's correct.
And pay $250.
Right, and one last note. The event is a 6-hour event, and public safety is a huge concern to me with that length of an event that we have no control over. And so is this LLC had the mechanisms in place to secure public safety? That's I don't know.
What y'all do for a living, right? Well, the way I see it, the way we do things, the policy worked, you know. Thought that maybe you all should have noticed it, but I can understand why you wouldn't see that they were administratively dissolved, so. All right, any other discussion, comments, suggestions about this topic?
So they are allowed to come back if they right their wrong, so to say. All right, just wanted to
They
make sure.
Yes, they wouldn't have time to do it before the event
Okay.
they've already advertised, but yeah, they can absolutely come back as of now.
Okay.
Thanks for catching that, Ms. Whalen. All right, public comments again. If you'd like to come forward and speak, you have 3 minutes to do so. Hearing none, are there any council or staff comments?
Randy.
Evening, Chief.
So at our last discussion about that time, we've had some changes. One of the two conditional offers will start the academy. Last day will be July 1st. Lastly, one of our but I wanted you guys to know, and I'm quite sure you guys knew, we have 2 layers of protection. Aside from the patrol division handling the call, are worse than that. The next level is we are in no danger, and colors, the last step for him. Opening through likely have to do is buy him out of his academy. You're bound for, I believe it's 2 years. Hires you can pay them. That number when that chief cost of paying him a salary and benefits for 6 months. Confident that that number will be lower than got that conditional out. We're still hunting. We reached out departments or the Columbus That's my update. If any of y'all have a question.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. All right, any more staff comments?
I have something, a couple brief. The July 3rd meeting. We typically don't have the first meeting in July just because it's so close to 4th of July. I've talked to some staff members this week. I don't feel like we have anything major to present to you all. So with that, as far as I'm concerned, we can cancel the July 3rd council meeting. If no one objects to that, we'll go with that thought. You've already mentioned, I want to mention again, on next Thursday, the 26th at 6 p.m. is the budget adoption. It's just prior to the planning commission meeting that night. And finally, there's going to be a runoff for the Public Service Commission position. The runoff for that will be, the voting day will be July 15th. We will host that again in our library. We've already talked to Patty about that. We've already talked to elections. And it seemed to go smooth last week, so we're going to make it work next time as well. So that's all I have.
How many people voted in Tyrone, in our precinct?
Do you know, D? I don't know.
Sorry.
We don't have the exact numbers, but it was very low.
All right. Any other staff comments? Sure. Is there a motion to cancel the July 3rd meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Council comments?
I have just two items here. One, I think, we may have spoken about this, about putting some sort of a sign with a picture of the renderings about the pavilion and stage around there, so people know what's going on. We have had more people, oh, go ahead, Philip. I thought we had talked about this before. I've had more people call me and stop me and say, "What are you doing down the park?" And it's finally something good that that's out in the open that we're starting to do, and it would be nice that they knew exactly what we're doing. Thank you. The second thing I wanted to just mention that the Elks Club of Tyrone is going to be looking for an anticipated opening of their new place of business next to Zesto's. You see a sign out there, and they'll be holding bingo Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday, I believe, are the days, 4 days a week there. So just for people to just put it on their calendar and be aware of that.
Other council comments?
Yeah, I wanted to give a shout out to Scott. That project on Dogwood, fantastic. The guys came in, they roughed the road up, and they smoothed it out. The lines went in. It's a nice, smooth ride down to 74. I'm grateful to have it.
I've gotten multiple, in isolated incidents, good comments about Officer, I'm sorry, I don't have.
Penny Minch?
Yes, Mitch. I just happened to hear these things, and so can you tell her we said, thank you, good job, keep it up. Any other council comments? There is no need for executive session. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.